My name is Jenny Cheifetz, and my business is called Gentle Coaching. My podcast is Sideline Sisters. And how that came to be, well, I live in New Hampshire with my husband, my two older teenage kids. I can't believe I'm approaching that age where I have one leaving the nest soon and one who will be on her way to leave the nest soon. I have two dogs, and I have this business, Gentle Coaching. I am a coach for women who are just really ready to just own their stuff, own their lives, and make a move, make bold moves. So the gentle is kind of a fun word. It's a play on my name, so it's gentle with a J, and it's an acronym. Those letters stand for words that are really significant to me. They're the pillars, the principles of my business. So J for joy, E for empowerment, N for nourishment, like how we need to nourish our souls. T for tribe, meaning that we just need a tribe of support to get us through. And that tribe does not have to be big. It could be one really significant person that provides connection and support. Um, L for love, meaning we need to start with that love of self to get anywhere. And that final E, to feel good enough. We just have to know that we are enough for anything, good enough, smart enough, pretty enough. Um, just to look in the mirror and know worthy enough. It just starts with being enough. And so that is the foundation of the work that I do. And then there's my podcast that I started in January, which began as one thing. It was interviews with women connected to something in sports. Maybe they were athletes, coaches, some sort of job in the sports world, sports moms, super fans. Then it pivoted recently when I realized while I preach authenticity, I did not seem to be standing in my own authenticity. And that seemed kind of contradictory. So, just as of the last couple weeks, I pivoted slightly, rebranded, and I'm now interviewing women with just really incredible stories, with messages of inspiration and hope and um, light to show the rest of the world, the rest of mostly women, will say, listening, that no matter what you've been through, whether it's bad relationships, hard times, tough upbringing, big T, little t, it doesn't matter. We're all connected through challenge, and these messages of I made it through. I'm hoping whoever's listening will hear and know I I can make it through too. It not to say, not to minimize whatever someone is listening is going through, but hopefully they'll hear, oh, that chick went through um, domestic violence, and she came out the other side. So I'm going through this eviction and I'm on hard times. Hopefully, I can hear her message and carry that with me while I'm struggling, and and take that nugget as I'm just as I'm grinding through.
I think that's a perfect story, right? Because, well, I'll share since you're sharing, right? is when I first started this 2.5 years ago, I was interviewing people at the gym. And as we were talking, I was hoping to get more men on my show. So what I did was and anyone and everyone at the gym I was talking to, if someone helped me with like a set or how they would spot me, I would say, hey, my name is Terrain and I have a podcast talking about why people want to get fit. So I started similar to you, where it's like people that were athletic in nature, but they were like more gym goers and fitness. And it was pretty good for the time. But then I decided to pivot similar to you, because when I started to hear the reasons why these people got into the gym, many of them were shamed as a child for being overweight. Many of them
Mm,
were bullied by their parents for eating and looking a certain way. So I was like, wow, you have these men who are, let's say, like 6'2", they're really big, right? But
wow.
for a long time inside, there was still that little boy that was getting bullied. Or you have these girls who were so lean and they were strong, they were fast, but they still looked at themselves as this overweight girl being bullied. And one thing I
Yeah.
began to connect was my audience likes to hear that, right? They
Hmm.
want to hear the journey, not the end story. So that's when I began to pivot, and then it started to focus on, like, okay, let's say the mental health and the relationships. And then you get to see, Jenny, how, wow, like this person looks like they have it all, but deep down, they don't like themselves. They can't make it work.
Yes.
Was that like an aha moment for you as well?
Yes. Yes. And is that where you got the name for the show?
Absolutely. It was peeking behind the shade. So to
Yeah.
answer your question, what I did was going around in my 20s, I used to wear shades because I didn't want people looking in my eyes, right? And that could have been like an insecurity thing or just me not wanting to make eye contact. But then I felt like I was hiding something. So I was like, okay, how many people have their own version of shades that they're hiding? It could be makeup, it could be hair extensions, it could be clothes, it could be a turtleneck. So that's how I got the show Behind the Shades. Like, peek behind and see, is Terrain really that way? Is Jenny
Mm.
really that way? Like, Jenny wanted to be authentic, right? She wanted to do this, she wanted to do that, she wanted to curse a little bit. Show the real Jenny, right? Show the real Terrain. So that's how I came across that show. Did you experience a moment like that as well?
Yes, I love that. Yeah, I just it's so funny because I just put a post on my local, we have a local Facebook page in my town, and I put something out there last week, and I don't often post anything on the mom's page because I just again, maybe I'm hiding. I'm feeling inauthentic, and how do I connect in my town feeling insecure? And so I finally just put something on this page, and I started it as vulnerability post, or I'm something about being it was something like vulnerability share or something like that. And I said something, we're allowed to post about our businesses once a week. So I really wanted to just do a business post, but not have it be salesy. So I figured, all right, I'm going to do something different and not, not be, do something, whatever I've been doing the last year hasn't gotten the likes that I've wanted. So I'm going to try something different, shake it up. And instead, I just took off the mask, I shed the layers, and I put it out there and said, you know what, guys, this is not an easy town to live in. We, it, you know, I have often struggled with my confidence, and I shared that when I saw, here's me, I'm going to share it here. Um, so you probably remember the movie Clueless. Alicia Silverstone, okay? It was a very popular movie. I love that movie. I love her. But I remember, I'm dating myself here, but I saw that movie in the movie theater when it came out. And, truth bomb here. I saw that movie and I cried. It's a comedy, Trent. It's a comedy. You're supposed to laugh at that movie. You're probably supposed to laugh the entire time. I cried. Why did I cry? I cried because I spent the entire time comparing myself to her, to Alicia Silverstone. who is a similar age to me and is drop dead gorgeous. And in that movie, she was, perfect hair, perfect face, perfect figure. And of course, her character is wearing all the clothes and, the designer outfits. And, she gets the guy in the end and living the Beverly Hills life. And I was so insecure with myself at that time that all I did was sit there feeling like a fat slob in the movie theater, just feeling ugly and so so uncomfortable in my skin. And so I wrote in this Facebook post that story of seeing that movie, crying, feeling so awful about myself, and that it took, and I felt that way about myself through my 20s, through my 30s, through half of my 40s, until at the age of 45 during COVID, like everybody else stuck in my house, I was scrolling Instagram and saw, for whatever reason, the stars aligned, and I saw an ad for a life coach. And it was specific for whatever reason. Why do things happen? Why did I meet you? For whatever reason, it was a life coaching program for body issues. And it was specific actually, um, to starting the day before I saw that ad. It was a 30-day program. It started the day before, and I said, I'll start a day late. I clicked, I bought now, and I did that program. I did the next thing that coach offered, and the next thing. And that started my journey. That started my healing journey. And I followed the breadcrumbs, and that coach introduced me to her mentor that certified her. I took a life coaching program and I got certified, and I got certified in breath work, and I followed the breadcrumbs. And that is the, 30-second story of how I became a life coach. And it was just an incredible light bulb moment for me that's what that Facebook post shared, is how I struggled up until the age of 45, until I finally did the work, started that personal development journey of diving into why did I hate myself, and unpacking all of that conditioning so that I could break through and shed all of that crap and allow myself to look in the mirror and begin to accept, to then begin to love. And it was work, work, deep inner work, which I want to share with others. And that was the whole point of that post, to not be salesy, but to be sherry, and say, I did this for me. I want to show you what's possible.
And that's something that isn't easy to do. Like can how many people when they walk past a mirror, they see something that they have to change,
Yeah.
right? Like
Or
it's
avoid looking altogether.
avoid looking. So it's like I can find, not me personally, everyone, but I can find something wrong in everybody else, but can I equally find it as easily within myself? And if I'm able to have that conversation with myself, how truthful am I going to be? Because I was at a point in my life where I had to be very, very honest. And the conversations that I was having at times made me feel very sad, but they were necessarily because I had to grow as a person. And for you, Jenny, like you went through that. You're helping the women go through that. What is something that you think is perhaps blocking some women from achieving it? Not maybe as fast as they want to, but just achieving it in general.
Well, okay, so I think blocking, okay, so there's blocking from achieving seeing what's possible or seeing their own beauty.
I would say seeing their own beauty, because I think that's a very important first step.
Hmm.
Right? Because there's some people, like I'll give you an example. There's some women that I work with. There's two. They have a hard time of seeing the beauty within themselves. And I communicate with them, even though our sessions are weekly, I communicate with them a few times during in text message, and they have a difficult time, right? So one thing that I do is I say, okay, write down 5 things you don't like about yourself. And when they write it down, because it's so easy, they're like, Train, I'm finished in 2 minutes. I'm like, okay, you're
Yeah,
gonna take some time. It's like they had what
yeah,
they didn't like about themselves already in their mind. So I said,
yeah,
okay, then the opposite would have to be true of what you would like. So let's get you those 5 things, which is the opposite of what you don't like. So that's an example that I would like to share.
yeah. It it's amazing. We are just so conditioned to find flaws. And it's like how easily can you accept a compliment? Even it's the simple oh, I love that dress. This old thing, eh, you know, can someone even just say, "Oh, I know, isn't it great? Like I love this yeah, this is my favorite dress." We as women can't even say, "Thank you." Yeah, I know I love my dress too. This is my favorite dress. No, we always have to have a disclaimer of this old thing or oh, I know I got it on sale. Like, oh, like there's always something we can't just say thank you or like your hair looks so good. Are you sure? Like I was thinking I was having a bad hair day or like, are you sure it's kind of frizzy? I don't it has to just be that conditioning of be demure, be modest that goes back generations that we were told. It's like I don't know if you know that song. It's country, but Miranda Lambert has that song. Oh, what's it called? Something about people can look it up, but it's mom something about like my mama told me I wish I could Google it right now, but there's something about um people can look it up, but there's a Miranda Lambert song where she says something of all the rules that her mama told her, not to basically be polite. And it lists off all the rules like, don't be loud, don't um wear too much makeup, don't make sure you cross your legs, make sure you don't over, shadow the man, don't do all these things. And those get passed down. There are just these rules that get passed down. And when you hear that enough times, it's habit. It's just habit. And I feel like it's rewiring. It's those neural pathways that it can be done. Obviously, it can be done where we know we can change habits and rewire. And this is what I want women to know. We can change that old myth of, an old dog, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. It just we need to do the work. So you can look in the mirror and believe, truly believe that you are beautiful. You just have to do the work. And that's where that somatic work comes in, doing the meditations, doing the breath work. So, no, looking in the mirror one day and saying, Jenny, you're beautiful. No, that's going to be laughable if you've never believed that. If you've spent 40 years telling yourself you're a fat pig and you're unworthy of love, and that's what if you've never had a relationship or you've had broken relationships and you've been lonely for so long, and all the things that you've done shows about, dating is terrible, and you've had trauma and just history of devastation. So now you're going to start telling yourself what comes across as lies. No, it's not going to work. So you need to do it in a deeper state of consciousness. So when you do it in more of a meditative state, now you're like, I'm sure a hypnotist would agree with me. There's other, it's not like it just has to be done in breath work, but there are other, you can tap on it. There are other modalities you can use. But when you get into other healing modalities where you're in that deeper state of consciousness, that's where you can do this kind of work to rewire and start finding the self-love and be kinder to yourself. But no, you can't just look in the mirror and say the opposite of what you've been saying to yourself.
Yeah, that's is one of my fears. One of my fears, and I have this for men and women, but a little bit more for women, is that there's going to be times where you just don't like yourself at that moment, and that's perfectly fine, right? As long as it's constructive in a way. But my fear has always been when women specifically beat themselves up over something that a lot of times is not coming from them. Like there's an external factor. And I would say this if it's like their appearance or preventing them from figuring out, because you mentioned, not you, but on your, like in the conversations that we're having, like there's a strong sense of you want women to take back their power and understand how they can re-energize, re-empower themselves. And then from a male's perspective, for me looking on the outside looking in, or with the women that I work with, it's like, but this person has beaten me down, as you mentioned, over the years. So when I start to say something positive about myself, I feel silly saying it because one, I stopped believing it at whatever age. And two, I haven't surrounded myself with people that actually have told me that. So when I interviewed a few people a little while back who were suffering from, let's say, weight loss issues, because they were bigger in their teens and maybe their early 20s, they felt their power is being taken away from the men and women around them. But what's interesting is that they said that their power is being taken away more from women than it was from the men, because it was the men in the relationship, right? Oh, this guy doesn't want to date me. This guy doesn't want to be seen in public with me. But their friends was turning around, right? Saying that, oh, you can't hang out with us because you look that way.
Mm.
So now when they start to seek out the tribe, right? That's the T in what you're saying. They're like, okay, I've had bad experience with women. I've had bad experience with men. Where do I go?
Mm.
Right? So Jenny, where would they go in that case where it's not one sex over the other? It's when I see women, I'm triggered. When I see men, I'm triggered.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, in that situation, it's not, we want to realize that we don't want to make global statements about either gender. No one gender is wrong. they've had painful experiences in their life, um, but we want to we want to heal. That's what we want for that person, is to heal the wound. So going through going through the healing journey with them, and repairing, doing some inner child work, and you can do meditations where you go, back to the scene and relive it. And there's some cool visualizations where you relive the those scenes and kind of do it differently, and do it from a more empowered state. And there's ways to heal and feel more empowered, and come out of that experience knowing that they can find tribe, or they can find connection. They can find connection somewhere, and not be alone. I mean, we're on a planet with billions of people. And yes, there is a feeling of loneliness right now that needs to be honored. And no one's saying we never want to bypass feelings. So we want to honor what's present right now, but we don't want to stay there. We want to honor what's present and feel the feelings, because you need to feel to heal, not to get, kooky with the little, like, the one-liners, but you do need to feel your feelings in order to heal. But you don't want to live there. So you got to process the emotions. And then that's the beauty of, again, whatever modality the person wants to choose. My modality of choice is breath work. So you breathe, you process what's stuck, get it out, and then you're free to pick a path to travel. Then you have options. So if the person wants to be free and experience and whatever, party and do things, fine. If they want to pursue a relationship and go on, listen to your episode about dating apps and go do that and explore that avenue, great. If they want to work with a matchmaker, if they want to try going out to clubs and do it their way, if they want to be set up by someone, but they can know that they're not doomed, because they're now allowing themselves to attract, because they've freed themselves of that stuck pain.
And I want to say that I agree with that. I think sometimes it's easy for us to get stuck in the victim mentality, or right, the feelings of what we're going through. And when we mentioned like you can rewrite, it took me back, since you mentioned the movie Clueless, right? It took me back, like, what you went through, the pain, the suffering. That's just like part one to your story, your movie. The sequel, you become the hero. You
Yeah.
get what it is that you want, right? And you can do it through various ways as long as you're getting the results that you want. And I know that some people, for loneliness, it's such, I wish we spent more time as a society speaking about loneliness, because it can segue into so many bad things, right? You can start abusing, let's say, drugs, alcohol, sex, partners, all these other things, right? And then on the flip side, it can lead you to the different modalities as you mentioned. the breath work, identifying what works for you. So since you touched on it, let's speak about that and your modality that you use is breath work.
Mhm.
How do you use that to help the women that you work with? And how happy are you to see the results that you get?
Yeah. It's a fascinating tool because it's within us. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to buy anything. You don't need anything other than your body. And that's amazing. It's 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 a beautiful thing. And so I love that it's available to me from the second I wake up until I go to sleep, and even throughout the night. I will wake up in the middle of the night sometimes to go to the bathroom and find myself. Sometimes I'll just wake up in the middle of the night. I'll be stirred awake and find myself struggling to fall back asleep. And I'll use breath work in those moments to bring peace and focus so that I can go back to sleep. So it is a tool that I use literally throughout the day and night. And there are numerous different patterns that I will call in, and cadence and depth and intensity. So I people can check out my Instagram and see the different, I try to post, I need to be a little bit more frequent about it, but I try to share little bits and pieces so that people can know it doesn't take much. I mean, you can use it anytime that you are activated or triggered throughout the day. The most common I would say is if someone is stressed. That would be the most uh, common reason people ask me to use breath work. If you're frustrated during the day, if you've got a chaotic day, or you've got a stressful meeting or conference call, or if you know that you're about to walk into a circus of a household or something like that, and you need to just calm your nervous system down before that's about to happen. You could be sitting in your car, in your driveway or your garage, and just sit for a minute or two and regulate yourself with literally inhale and exhale, inhale and exhale. The key terrain that I like to remind people is it's about intention. It's breathing with intention. So when you're doing that inhale, exhale, which is the simplest because it doesn't require any prior knowledge or, real concentration of a pattern. So if you're doing, and that exhale, you can choose to blow like you're blowing out candles, or like you're sighing. Inhale, exhale, and just focus that intention. What do you want? What do you want to bring in for a feeling, for a sensation? Do you want calm? Do you want gratitude? Do you want to feel more abundant? Do you want to feel excitement? Do you want to feel playful? Are you about to go inside and see a couple of toddlers that you want to be more, joyful and, bring out your, do you want to get down to their level and get rid of your work face and be more playful like that. So what is it that you want for your intention? And then that's how that works. And then what was the second part of your question? How do
Is
I, oh,
how
when,
happy do you feel
yes,
when you see the results of your clients?
yes, it really is. It's hard to put into words. I mean, there was one there was one client that I worked with. She came to me wanting to her intention was she wanted to have a bigger voice with respect to her career. She felt like she was really small, wasn't speaking up for herself. And so she wanted to improve her, just improve her voice, be able to speak up for herself in the workplace, be able to advocate and, ask for more, a raise and be able to say no when she was asked to take on more responsibilities and that sort of thing. So it was very career focused. Well, what she didn't tell me until a couple sessions in was that she was in a really toxic relationship. And that didn't come out until we were two or three, maybe onto the third session. Somehow she didn't, she just didn't feel comfortable sharing that until we were maybe three sessions in. She was in a really bad relationship. And that voice that she wanted for the office, she really needed for the relationship. She used it in her career and I think she ended up leaving that job, getting a new job or something. The career shifted, but she really needed to get out of that relationship. She was getting, I mean, she was a doormat. This guy that she was with she was the side chick. I mean, this guy had was in a committed relationship with someone else. I mean, she was being booty called all the time. I mean, she was a total doormat and had been for a couple years. And she needed that voice to get out of that situation. And it took a few more sessions, but when she told me she broke it off with him and was moving, I mean, she needed to leave that city. And it was like, I mean, I'm getting chills now thinking about it, that she was packing up the apartment and leaving that entire city. And I was like, uh, I'm supposed to, I should be using air quotes. As the coach, I am supposed to keep my distance and not really have an investment. I should remain. I should remain. Um, I'm not finding the right word, but out of the situation and allow the client to live their life and make their choices. And I should not have a stake in it. But boy, did I feel like I was her sister. I was her best friend. I felt like I was right there in it with her. And it really was a proud moment when that happened. I shouldn't say proud because I didn't feel I just felt so um excited for her, for what was available for her after that.
I know a lot of coaches that help people. It's because they needed help themselves at some point in their life. And then they had to turn to someone to get the help, similar to you and similar to me. And it seems, at least the coaches that I speak to, is that when they share these success stories, they try to remain neutral or arm's length from it. But because there's something about that situation that reminds them of themselves, they become invested in the happiness and the progress of that person. And it's interesting to see how happy we become when someone else is able to find the same happiness, because now we remember how we were at that time when it was like, aha, I need to do this to find the happiness I want. And I know for me, there's a number of people that I've spoke to, like you, or people that I've helped, that I see a little bit of me in them. Like the way that maybe they answer a question, their mannerisms, maybe the way that they talk about a situation. I was like, you know what? That used to be me 10 years ago, 5 years ago. I know. And then you start to think, you know what? When you have that moment it's going to be so amazing because now you're remembering your moment and how good it made you feel. Like, do you see a little bit of yourself in the woman that you work with?
I mean, that is probably the idea, is to gather people that you do see that possibility for, is to show them, I'm not that far ahead of you. You know, I haven't, I'm not special. I'm not, it's not like I've achieved some award or anything. All I've done is found a little bit of confidence, a little bit of voice, so that I can advocate for myself, so that I can say no when something doesn't feel right, so that I can not take so much shit from people, so that I can not be the doormat that I might have been 10 years ago. And I want that for you. So if that, if that's you, just know that I was that. I was that. And yes, I do want to, magnetize those people. So people, I hope people see in me what's possible for them. And I want to attract those people to, you hope it's this mutual attraction, because it's really, I'm not that much, not that more advanced from that place. It was only a couple years ago that I did work with the coach. I'm not that many years out from it.
Well, the journey in hindsight always seems shorter than it actually was, right?
Yeah.
Like if you look at someone that's losing weight, once they've lost the weight, they said, well, I just did this and this. But no, like it took 6 months, a year, 12 months, right? For you, yes, it was just a couple of years ago. But look at Jenny then versus Jenny now, right? And it's like the E in what you said is like you realize you're enough. I want
Yeah.
them to be enough. I want them to
Yeah.
understand that they're enough, right? So, as we close, what's some advice that you'd like to give to the women out there who maybe are struggling understanding what their version of feeling enough is?
Oh gosh. Feeling enough. It's an amazing experience to wake up and know that there is absolutely nothing you need to do, that you need to do beyond be yourself, that there's no doing or proving or showing or hustling. It's just being. It's just being who you already are. And if you are waking up and not feeling like who you are is just right, then there's some inner work to do.